the rap scene. I am Frank 5D, anomaly sworn solemnly, high snobbity, and today on the line we got a super dope individual, y'all. This dude is out here creating dope music and creating a dope legacy. You know that can be studied and looked up to. He's an MC, he's an author, a network engineer, a world traveler, a superhero. He is hip hop in the flesh, people. We got Cymarshall. What up, sir?
Peace, positive energy, and love. I appreciate you, Frank 5D. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that introduction. Yeah, you hit everything right there. So I appreciate that. Thank you for having me.
You already know. So how you feeling today?
I'm excellent and improving. Better than yesterday, worse than tomorrow.
That's what we're talking about. Progression. Always moving forward. Excellent. So start off by telling the people a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Boy, you just did it, but I'll do it again. Cymarshall, MC, author, really believer of the true potential and greatness in every human being walking this earth. Father, network engineer, like you said, but really a spirit, an awareness, a positive energy that's just trying to keep creating and leave my mark here on the earth as much as I can.
We love to hear it, yo. That's what I'm talking about. And we hear that accent, Jamaican descent.
You know what? I don't hear no accent, to be honest. I moved here when I was 9 from England, and my sister usually says when I get angry, which is not very often or at all. She's probably talking about when we were kids. She says when I get angry or get emotional, that my accent comes out. And then maybe when I say certain words, especially when I'm emceeing, probably comes out. So it's crazy you were able to hear it because I don't hear anything. Matter of fact, when I first moved to America, a lot of people were asking me to say things over and over again, and it became annoying. So I just learned to talk in a way that people would understand what I said. And in that way, it's not really accent, because when I go back to England, they say you don't sound like an American. And when I'm in England, when I'm in the other one, they say I don't sound like an English person. So it's just like I talk so that people can understand me. Just I'll make sure I articulate my words, because there was a lot of the girls saying, can you say this again? Can you say that again? Can you say batteries and butter again? Things like that. So elevator, things like that. So yeah, I just learned to speak so that people wouldn't say, could you say that again? So yeah.
Word up. So now you're repping Jersey.
Absolutely. Add to the fullest.
What has Jersey ever done for hip hop? You know? When I be thinking about this, it'd be like, bum ass Jersey. Like, what Jersey? Nah, I'm bullshit.
yeah, I was about to say, I know you're teasing.
Break down how important New Jersey is in hip hop.
Jersey is absolutely important because I always say it's like the little brother or little sister that never really got its credit, but everybody comes to Jersey. Like a lot of the biggest rappers from New York or even Philadelphia live in New Jersey. They might rep this, that, and the other, but when they talk about where they driving home to, it's New Jersey. And that's like, I don't want to say a majority, but at least half of them. So New Jersey is absolutely important because like most of your favorite artists live here. New Jersey has always been a mixture of styles. You can't really pinpoint us, but as far as New Jersey, even beyond hip hop, when you look at people doing the greatest things in America, when you look at like the top, there's always somebody from New Jersey. I don't care if it's a gymnast, a boxer, author, there's always someone from New Jersey at the top. And when you look at the size of our state, and I'm telling no lies, so New Jersey is highly important. We got a style of our own. When you see somebody out in New Jersey, you know that they're Jersey, like it has a distinct thing from away from New York and not Philly. Like I was just in Japan and I was riding a train and I saw someone and I was like, are you from New Jersey? This is crazy. It's a true story. I was just riding a train. I just looked at them and I was like, I just tapped them on the shoulder. I was like, yo, are you from Jersey? Sure enough, Jersey. So it's just a thing. But yeah, Jersey is highly important. Some of the most lyrical, dope MCs you'll ever find, from Naughty by Nature, Lauryn Hill, Redman, Poor Righteous Teachers. New Jersey is that state. I wouldn't trade New Jersey for nowhere else on the planet. Nowhere else. And I've been to like a lot of places. Been to like every state, a lot of countries, and New Jersey is always going to be home. So,
that's what's up, man. I love to hear it. There are those certain cities in hip hop that have that influence on their artists. In in certain regions, in certain states, of course. Like You know, we got our Comptons, we got our Brooklyns, our Queens, we got our Jerseys, we got our Atlantas. That's dope. Way to be a part of that. Who goes on? You just mentioned a few, and that AI image is going around. Who goes on the AI Mount Rushmore of Jersey rap?
I would put Redman. I would put Tretch. I would put. Sometimes I struggle to say Lauren only because she just has one album. So I'm gonna say Lauren right next to Raw Digga because I love some Raw Digga.
Mm.
And if I were to give a fifth, I would have to give it to as far as like overall impact and what they were able to do in the game and still doing in the game overall, I gotta give it to my guy Joe Budden.
Joe Bud.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
With honorable mentions being the Outsiders, because I love some Outsiders. I came up on the Outsiders. So yeah, shout out to them.
Tight. No
Yeah.
Queen Latifah. Is Latifah from Jersey?
Absolutely. Oh, she's so from Jersey that I feel bad for not mentioning her. But I, lyrically wise, I do prefer Lauren and Rod Digga over Queen. But now that you mentioned Queen, as far as like what she's done in the game, of like overall, I would have to put her there, right? Like,
I mean, I don't ever see her,
like
mentioned.
overall, no, you don't. But when you talk about like overall impact, like even beyond hip hop and into other genres, like her acting career, she can sing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put Queen there. I put Queen there. So yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Tight,
I would
yo.
love to do a song with Queen Latifah.
Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out.
Yeah, she's been my favorite female MC for a long time, and I'm one of those pure dudes. Like she's been my favorite for a long time. Her and I'd say Roxanne Shante.
Yeah, shout out to the Flavor Unit.
You like superheroes? Who's your favorite superhero?
Gambit and Iceman.
Gambit and Iceman. Tell me more.
Well, Gambit's real name is Bobby Drake. Excuse me, Iceman's real name is Bobby Drake. I came up on comic books. I have a stack of comic books all up in that closet right there. When I was younger, I didn't like to read until I started reading comic books. And comic books opened up a whole new world to me. And then when X-Men came out, the cartoon in '95, I was addicted to that joint. So I went from reading all those comic books from Uncanny X-Men to X-Force to everything with an X to now I read everything. Like I'm a bookworm. I'm really that guy, as you can see behind me. But yeah, I love superheroes because I feel like they're an extension of who they are, and just like MCs are. Like I'm a network engineer by day, but by night you might see me touring in Vegas to California to Toronto to Japan, and that's like my alter ego, because a lot of people say when they meet me, like I couldn't even see you being an MC because I show that one side of me. It's like an introvert side, but they don't know there's a whole other extrovert side that when I get on stage, it's like this rah like a dungeon dragon. So I feel like superheroes are in music all the time because a lot of people have that personality. Like if you think about Michael Jackson, whose birthday I have, he is very much like myself, like a very like calm, usually person. But when that man gets on stage, he's like, so I'm definitely like that on stage. I don't want to say I'm like Michael, but you know what I'm saying. I definitely bring a whole nother energy, and it's like a superhero energy because when I grab that microphone, I feel untouchable, like I was an Iceman. So yeah, that's where that comes from.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. I love the enthusiasm about it, for real, man. I used to work people over on Marvel vs. Capcom Part 2 with Iceman. He had the ice beam, and then he dropped all the ices on you, man.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I was just playing that game in Akihabara, Japan. We stayed in a town called Electric City, and in that town is like a video game town, and they have like about 9 buildings that are 9 stories each, and when you go in those buildings, on every level it's filled with arcade games. So they were out there with my 18-year-old son, and what was crazy to us is that we would see like Japanese businessmen coming in there at like 11 a.m. in full suit and tie, and these dudes would be like 30, 40, 50, 70 years old, wiring on like Marvel vs. Capcom, Tekken. And it was just crazy to see, because after they would finish playing the video games, they would get up, get their briefcases, and go back to work. You would like see them cross the street and go back into their building. So like Japan is something else. But yeah.
That's dope. How was the trip overall? I saw you posting from, you know, how was it?
I know I had to stop posting. I told my manager I think I'm Japanning them to death right now. But yeah, it was an incredible trip. I went out there initially because my son, he was on the New Jersey State soccer team, and he was the starting center forward. This year, and they were supposed to go to Spain, but at the last minute it got canceled. So I had saved up all this money to send him to Spain, and he's about to graduate this June, in a couple of weeks actually. And I don't know, you probably know, at the end of the year, seniors usually go on a trip, and these guys are going to Disney. But he didn't want to go to Disney. He was like, "Yo, Dad, is it possible that you use that money that you saved up for Spain and not send me to Disney, and we could go to Japan?" And I was like, "Bet, that's what we're doing." So we figured out, it was really his dream to go to Japan. But then when I figured out we were both going, he wanted to go by himself. And I was like, nah, absolutely not. You're not going to a country you've never been to before by yourself. Right. That's something I would do, but I would let him do it. I used to do it when I was his age. Anyhow, so the country is beautiful. I love everything about Japan and what it embodies, the people. I love how Japanese people really stick to themselves. Like, as soon as we came back to America, everyone's just all in your face and like being nosy and seeing what you're doing. When you're riding the trains out there and just doing your thing, Japanese people are very to themselves. So it was, it was a beautiful country, and everything about the people resonates highly with me because they're about their business, and I appreciate that.
That's what's up.
Beautiful country.
Was the cherry blossoms in bloom?
Yo, you know what? Frank, I went all over Japan, from the bottom to the top, to the left to the right. The one thing I didn't see was cherry blossoms. I couldn't believe that shit. And wow. I went in cherry blossom season. So I have a cousin, shout out to Ashley. She went to Japan the same time as me. Coincidentally, I didn't know she was going, but when I spoke to her brother, she was like, yo, he was actually going to Japan too. So when I came back, I saw her pictures. Ashley found the cherry blossoms. So
wow.
That's like the one thing I didn't see. I seen Mount Fuji, I seen crazy temples, sumos, geishas, I seen the works. But yeah, I didn't see no cherry blossoms until I seen Ashley's Instagram.
you a superhero dude. What's up? You into the anime?
Not as much as my son, and that's one of the main reasons he wanted to go out there. But I'll watch it from time to time. But I'm not heavy into it. I used to watch Naruto. I used to watch Dragon Ball Z. But I stopped watching Dragon Ball Z way long ago, like before all these new iterations. Like, I can remember when they were still looking for the Dragon Balls. Like, and I used to watch every episode, like, yo, are they gonna find it now? And I ended up stopping watching because they never did. And now, that was mad years ago. I'm sure all types of wonderful things have happened since then.
I think I stopped watching it when they had the tournament. The tournament. It was when like Cell first came, or it was so long ago. Like, all the new iterations I don't even know about.
Yeah, so I'll listen to my son's stories about One Piece, man. I even watched the Netflix joint, which I thought was pretty good. And I might buy some. Like, I have a Luffy Pops figure right over there. I have a bunch of Pop figures right over there if I could turn the camera, but yeah, it's not like an everyday thing for me for anime. It's really my son, but I love all that stuff too. I love just art in general. So yeah, same
type. So you've toured the world pretty much on your own legwork and strength, and gusto. Tell me about that. Like, what was the best show you can remember? Or like, how'd you just get started? What made you think, like, at where you were in the game, I'm just gonna do a world tour. I'm just gonna go tour the world and do shows.
It's hard to pinpoint the best show, but two shows popped into my head, but I wouldn't say they're the best. But the two that popped into my head was the first one that popped into my head was Toronto, Canada. I performed with the late great Pumpkinhead. It was Murs, Pumpkinhead, and I wasn't on the bill, but I was on Pumpkinhead set because I used to be his hype man. Do you know Pumpkinhead?
I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
So that show, there was probably about 1,000 people in the room, and I did a song off my first album called Words Play. And at the end of the song, I go, Cymarshall law. And I just remember the whole entire, like I killed it. And the whole crowd was like, Cymarshall law. And then after that show, someone broke into our van and stole the video camera. So I've never seen that footage. Pumpkinhead almost didn't make it back to New Jersey because his passport was in the backpack. We were at the border and Cats had to go. We were looking at him like, I don't know, PH. But so that show in Toronto was super dope. And then the other
me hyped up about it, man. That's some lost media. If anybody out there got a recording of that show, man, we need to see that.
Yeah, I was super young. Shout out to Merce. He gave me a big compliment that day.
Shout out to Merce.
He said, when I never forget when I was selling CDs, and I know I was being like super humble and appreciative, and he heard me because he was like selling CDs next to me, and he tapped me on the shoulder and he was like, yo, you remind me of me. And that felt really good back then. So shout out to Mears. And then the other show was in was it Rotterdam? No, it was Utrecht in Netherlands, which is a town about an hour away from Amsterdam, maybe an hour and a half away from Amsterdam. I performed out there. I believe Master Ace was there. Maybe EMC was over there. I'm pretty sure Torre might have been over there at the time. But that show was crazy. There was like 10,000 people there. And there's actually footage of that online. Rocked the house, like killed it, and everyone was like, ah, like you can see it on stage now. I wish the footage was clearer, but I remember hopping off stage, like I like killed it, and then hopped off right into the crowd and started signing mad autographs, like this, that, and the other, to the point. All I remember is the host being like, Cymarshall law, other people have to perform, you know. I was like, oh, I was lost in the moment because there was a crowd around me and someone, so I was like, yo, my bad, and I scooted off to the and kept signing autographs and selling CDs. But yeah, that show, it was called the Boogie Down Breda Festival. Matter of fact, it was in Breda, not Utrecht. See, me actually saying the name of the festival made me remember.
Yeah, man, it feels like just yesterday when I had the idea to put that festival together and to bring you there to perform. That's what I'm talking about. See how these things come together.
When are you bringing me back? That's the question.
You've talked about how hip hop has taken you to places you thought you'd never get to, all because you just decided to pick up the pen.
Absolutely. Like, you want me to speak on that? I mean,
yeah, come on.
I mean, I was just in Azerbaijan, Japan, performing for people.
Azerbaijan, yeah.
It's a town right next to Roppongi, which is, I suppose, sort of like a hood over there. It's kind of ratchet energy, is what I've been told. But I wouldn't have got to Japan like that. I was given a book presentation, and in the middle of my book presentation, I also performed. But that never would have happened. Like I told the people as it was happening, like I manifested this. Like I that was my energy. Like things come about in your life because of what you already have inside of you. So I was able to manifest that externally because of what was going on inside of me. So I just recognized that. So, Japan, Vegas, England, I've been a lot of places, but I just understand that they never happened by accident. And additionally, I learned a good lesson about a few years ago that helped me out a lot. I was always doing things and my sentences would begin with I, like I did this, I did that. And I found that more things began happening for me when I stopped putting I in front and started putting whatever you want to call it, God, universe, love. Like I feel like a lot of things have happened for me in the last few years because I've acknowledged the universe's favor that I have. And I believe that to be even why things are happening now. just giving credit to the universe, God, whatever it is, instead of always starting my sentences with I did this, I did that. And I feel like that's why a lot of things are happening now, because, you know, God is opening doors for me right now that I could not have opened on my own. And just giving credit to that energy is making me more powerful by the day.
That's what I'm talking about. And I love the spiritual aspect about you, and you know, it just permeates through the music. Because I wouldn't call you a faith-based rapper at all. I wouldn't call you a gospel rapper at all. But you know, a lot of I guess, you know, that faith-based hip hop kind of sounds like it kind of you could probably fit in that lane if you wanted to call it that. But
Yeah.
I just love that about you, man. And you know, it's so refreshing to not have to hear about jewelry and robbing and all the worst parts about, you know, what makes this thing popular and what, you know, America's got a thing for this gangster shit. We know
Let me
that.
tell you where it comes from then. Why I'm like that.
Yeah.
Both of my parents are, you know, were born in Jamaica. They used to both be Rastafarian. So when we lived in England, as where a lot of Americans might have been listening to, like, you know, when they were younger in their household, their parents might have been listening to like jazz music. That never was happening in our house in England because we were Jamaican. My parents were listening to like anyone from Bob Marley to Everton Blender to Barrington Levy to a lot of like righteous culture, conscious, I want to say, artists. So when I'm like walking through the house when I'm 4 or 5 years old, although I'm not consciously taking in what they're saying, I realized that subconsciously all those positive messages from all those old Jamaican songs were embedded in me. And then my parents were, you know, schooling me about spirituality and just, you know, the love of self and the love they had for me. So later on in life, when I went to become a hip hop artist, it was very natural for me to gravitate to music that uplifted people. But at the same time, I feel like Jamaicans and reggae artists in general have their energy is conveyed easily when you see like an Elephant Man on stage, or when you see a Bounty Killer on stage, or Beanie Man, the energy is like this. Right. Or even Bob Marley. So when those were my visuals that's the things that I was able to learn from. So when I got on stage, it was just natural for me to have that energy, but at the same time be trying to uplift people. But at the same time, like if you look at like a Bounty Killer or you know, a lot of reggae artists, whether it's Vibes Cartel or War 21, they're like super lyrical. And a lot of times I feel like if you don't understand the patois, you're not able to pick up on the lyrical. But if you are, those Jamaican artists are some of the most lyrical, dynamic, word-playing MCs to ever walk the planet. Matter of fact, most of my favorite hip-hop MCs, they have Jamaican roots, from Method Man to Biggie Smalls. And matter of fact, there's this dope-ass Biggie documentary. I think it's on Netflix, but it shows, it bugged me out because it showed his Jamaican background and like when his parents sent him from Brooklyn to Jamaica when he was mad young, and then a way he like learned how to chat on the mic. So it's just, I don't even know how I got here, but reggae artists in Jamaican is definitely breathes through everything I do, and I try to be positive and uplifting, and I got that from all the reggae artists that my parents used to listen to. And the reason why I try to not, like you said, I could be faith-based, and the reason why you didn't want to put me all the way in there, because I do have a side of me that is just like lyrical and trying to body MCs, and I also get that from, you know, like a Vibes Cartel, or, you know, that side of like a dance hall side. So it's like the positive side, like the Bob Marley side, and then you also have like the Bounty Killer side where, and it's just like Cymarshall Law from New Jersey, and that's where you get me.
So, very nice, and it tracks. It lines right up. A brilliant explanation for sure. So yeah, you've been around the world. Where has been the most receptive to your music?
I mean, Sweden loved me. I've been to Sweden about 8 times. At one time in my life, Sweden was like my second home. But I want to say all over Europe. I mean, I've really never done any bad shows in Europe, and I feel like that is because they really like. I feel like over here we might be spoiled because we might go to Brooklyn and see one of our favorite rappers walking down the street. And I know it's not like that everywhere, but I think you know what I mean. Like rappers and hip hoppers, they're not really out of touch over here. Like we can see these guys whenever we want. Really, if you really want to. As we're over in Europe, you know, they don't live in Europe. So when they get like an authentic hip hop artist, they're very receptive. And as long as the show is promoted also, but I've done a lot of really dope shows in Europe. Paris, was it Paris? No, it's Saint Etienne in France. That show was incredible. That one's on YouTube as well. But I have like a lot of shows in France. But just in Europe in general. Oh, I did a show in Czech Republic. I performed there a couple times actually, but yeah, just all over Europe to be honest, to be fair.
Sorry, could you pinpoint a place that's like the most receptive and loving of hip hop in general, overall?
In Europe, Berlin, Germany, that was like a breath of fresh air because they have a hip hop event going on like every night of the week. And that, am I allowed to curse on here?
Oh yeah, man, go ahead.
That like fuck me up.
Jump. No. Berlin, continue.
Nah, like every day of the week, like, and that messed me up. It didn't mess me up. I really appreciate it. It didn't matter if it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Every night of the week, they had some dope hip hop shit going on, like break dances, MCs, like every night of the week. And then they would get up and go to work. So I got to give it to Berlin, Germany, and I didn't know that before I went there at all. In fact, I was very ignorant about Germany because you always read the Nazi stuff from back in the day. And it's not that I thought when I went there it was going to be like Nazi this, Nazi that, but I always had that in the back of my head. But when I went there, it's as if the German people are doing their all to wash that shit away. Like, yo, that is so not us anymore. And they act like it. They're really good people. Well, the Germans I met were really good people. But yeah, Berlin, Germany was hip hop. I appreciate that.
That's what's up. And you always hear about that, how they don't shy away from it. They don't forget about it, but they definitely do the most to make sure that they're not, painted in that light anymore.
Right.
That's what's up. Where would hip hop have started if it didn't start in New York?
Probably Los Angeles.
Tell me more.
When I go to Los Angeles, it's very similar to New York, but it's in its own way. So that's the only reason I say that. And when I say it's similar to New York, it has a very I want to say unique energy. But what I mean by it being the same as New York is that there are a lot of creatives, there's a lot of imagination, there's a lot of artistic energy there. And so if it were to start somewhere else, I would pick maybe LA because they breathe artistry out there. There's a lot of dope artists in LA, and it's they're different from New York and on the East Coast, but they give off that creative energy. So I've been having a ball in LA. Matter of fact, I think that's why I've been getting a lot of success in LA, because they really appreciate artistry and creativity. That's what my music is about. Like artists like anyone from Dilated Peoples to Souls of Mischief to Hieroglyphics. And I feel like some of my music is in that vein, just the East Coast type of vibe. And I think they really appreciate that. So I'll give it to LA, but maybe not if LA, maybe New Jersey or maybe Philadelphia, because I guess it would if hip hop didn't start in New York, where would it start? I mean, maybe someone took a trip to New Jersey and didn't, like me, like we could have moved from England to New York, but we didn't. We moved to New Jersey. So the hip hop artists or the hip hop whether it was breakers, DJs, MCs that started out in New York, they could have very easily grew up in New Jersey. Matter of fact, they might have, because like we spoke about earlier, a lot of our favorites, whether they be from New York or Philadelphia, actually live in New Jersey. So I'm gonna say New Jersey as well. I could have started in New Jersey as well. Matter of fact, I bet there's some backstories we don't know about artists way back then that helped it out right from New Jersey. We'll probably never hear about it, but everything comes through New Jersey. You gotta come through New Jersey. So yeah.
You don't have to go through New Jersey. Now I'm bullshitting. LA is my number one answer that I always get. I'm putting something together about this. But I also agree with you. I always say it was probably going to be somewhere ancillary to New York, Jersey, or Philly, if not upstate. You know, the way Buffalo's doing things today.
Right.
So yeah, thank you, Sa. That's what I'm talking about. Your book, I Still Love Her, the Biography, 52 Laws of Freedom.
Yep, I got
Talk about it.
So this is the first one you talked about, I think. That's I Still Love Her. And then the other one is, my bad, is 52 Laws of Freedom. Mm-hmm. So the first one, it's an autobiography, but I didn't want it to be the same as everyone's autobiography. My favorite type of book is autobiography. I have like everyone's autobiography, all the hip hop people. If I don't have it, I want it. But I didn't want my autobiography to be the same as everyone else's, just like a, start to finish. So I was like, how can I be creative? And I made it into, it's additionally a coloring book. But in each chapter, wait, let me rewind a bit. So sometimes I would be touring and I might be having a hard time or I might be having a good time. And a very clear statement might pop into my head about life. And I would just write it down. And
the clarity.
For years, I didn't know why I was doing it, but I just kept writing them down. And then one day I looked and I had like over 30 of them. And a lot of people were telling me, as a matter of fact, I started putting them on Facebook. Like I just started like writing a status, and then people would get in the comments and be like, yo, you should write a book. You should write a book. And, one too many people said it. So I was like, it's probably a good idea. And then I, started turning the laws. Each law, I would break down where I got it from. So within the book, I break down where I got each law from within my autobiography. And then I would write out a rhyme from one of my songs that were parallel to the law, and then I would break down the rhyme, and then within each like 4 bars I would say like how I came up on those 4 bars and how they have to do with the law. So it's like an autobiography. It's a coloring book because each chapter has like a mandala in it, and the reason I put a mandala in it is because I believe that when people are living life, a lot of times there's a lot of distractions, whether it's social media, whether it's their boyfriend, girlfriend, TV, there's just a lot going on and it's hard to focus sometimes. And I feel like the best of myself has always come when I'm like one-minded in one place. And when I color or when I write, I'm focused on it. It's like when you're just focused on your breathing, you're just right here. So I wanted to put coloring in the book because I wanted people to just get away from everything, and while you're coloring you have to think about coloring, so it's like a meditative thing. So the book is a coloring book, it's an autobiography, and then the next book I have 52 Laws of Freedom. The 52 laws are actually in here as well, but I wanted to make this book more of a journal. So I have the 52 laws, and then after each law there's like a space for you to write down what you've thought about the law. Like want you to study the law for a week and then come back and then write down all your thoughts, so it becomes like a diary and a journal for you to go back to. So just something more digestible for younger people, for older people. Sometimes people don't want to read a whole thick book full of words, and they, this is just easier for them. So I created 2.
Come on, Kane, read the whole thing to us right now.
Absolutely not.
Can I ask which law impacts you the most?
Yeah, it's a law that, I tell people all the time. I just said it the other day. I mean, I say it all the time. It's like how I live my life. And it's you can always recreate yourself. That's who I am. And the reason why I do so much, because I just don't ever put myself in a box. And when I feel a certain way, I know that I can act on it. And I feel like a lot of people are scared to act on their emotions and thoughts and really who they are, because out of judgment from people. Like, people want you to stay in the box. They don't want you to reach higher, because when you start reaching higher, you start to appear different, and a lot of people don't like people who are different. A lot of people want you to be the same forever, and I feel like you're meant to recreate. I feel like we came from the creator, the universe, the God, and if we came from this energy that is the creator, and we're the kids of this energy, we're the creator's kids, that means we can create too. So a lot of people get stuck in, like, they might have a job as a painter or any type of job they don't like, and they feel like they have to stay there, or they're a teacher, they have to stay there, or they're in a relationship and they have to stay there, and they're broken after the relationship, or whatever it may be. We don't have to be the same. Every day is a new day to recreate yourself and become anew. And I wish that more people lived by that, because it's one of the driving forces behind Cymarshall law. Whenever I get an idea, whenever I get an inspiration, I know that inspiration and idea came from the universe. It came from not me. And because it came from this unlimited source, I know I can do it. Like, any dream that comes into my heart that I believe, it didn't just come from nowhere. I was meant to do it. So when something comes in my heart or something comes in my brain and I'm able to capture it, I do it because I know I'm supposed to do it, and I'm not afraid. And that's because I know I was meant to keep creating.
Dope.
So that comes from.
And thank you for doing it. Honestly, the young man, we need more like you out there. We need more like you in this thing of ours. That's how I always refer to hip hop. This thing of ours. That's what it is. And it's people like you who are going to see it through its current turmoils. In my opinion, yo. And congratulations on both of the books, man. And I love how you like extrapolated the laws from your actual sciography.
Right.
It's a lot how you do on the Cymarshall law, the Cymarshall law show. Excuse me. When you take one of your verses and you kind of like break it up into almost like a preacher's sermon, like at Sunday service or something.
Right.
Like, how long? Where did the Cymarshall law show come from?
That came from me wanting to help people. Like, literally, I think I started it in 2020 for the first time when the pandemic hit, and I just saw a lot of people being sad and depressed and down on themselves. Like, I'm reading social media statuses and people are like confused about where life is going and what the next step is. And I didn't feel like that. I felt like in love with life and like everything about recreating, and I'm a happy guy, to be honest. And I felt like I've always been a giver in a lot of different ways, and I just felt like I had energy to give. Like I have more than enough love to give. Some people don't have, they feel like they don't have enough love to give. I feel like I have an overabundance. Like I'm just a loving guy, and a lot of times my love comes out through the things that I create, and I felt like I could help people. So that's really where it came from. I felt like I could help people, and why not? Why wouldn't I? Like, if I have the time and energy and space, because it's one of those ideas that pop into your head and it's like, are you going to do it or not? And I'm like, I'm going to do it because, at the end of the day, who's to say why we're here and what happens next? But what I'm very clear about is that I can help people. I know I can. I know I've helped people, and I know I'm going to continue helping people. So why wouldn't I do that? I have nothing to lose. I have a lot of love to give. And the more love you give out, the more love comes back. So it's very, very natural for me.
This guy's a real life superhero out here. Using his powers for good, man. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. I love to hear it, man. Once again, thank you. One thing that struck me when I was checking out, more for this is you get like hundreds of thousands of Shazams. And I think that's a dope ass stat, because that it just shows that people are hearing something out their ear and it's like, what is that? Hold up, who's rocking my brain right now? Like, and then they break out the device and they get to interact with you. and connect with you and figure out, more about what you're about. And when they find this, it's just like the icing on the cake. Yeah.
I got a question. How did you figure it out? Because I don't even know that shit.
Say that again.
How did you figure that out? Because I don't even know that. Like hundreds and thousands of Shazams. Like how?
Where
do I guess that?
I can't give out the tricks to the trade,
Rodney, where you at? Get this man.
Yo, you're at Rhymefest LA coming up.
I am.
How amped are you about that?
Super amped. Like that might, I don't know if it's gonna be the biggest show of my life, but shit, it's in the LA Coliseum.
One of those places. Yeah, my about to play there. Super amped up. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I've been to a few shows. At the Coliseum.
It's gonna be a great show. Rhymefest LA, August 16th, the LA Coliseum. Go to rhymefestla.com, get your tickets. Headline is still not announced, and it already has mad dope artists from Dead Prez, Alchemist, Exhibit. Yo, it's gonna be crazy. Master Ace just got added. Cymarshall Law. So yeah, I can't wait.
You on the bill right next to my man's local astronauts. Shout out to local astronauts, doing their thing. Yeah, they just produced a project for Planet Asia, who you just collabed with. You dropped a crazy video for Blowtorch.
Word.
How'd that collab come about?
So that collab came about. Well, you talking about the video or the song of Planet Asia?
The both. Yeah. What was the idea behind the visual, and what's up with the collab? Tell me the story.
So Planet Asia, that's not the first time I had a song with him. He was on my album Hip-Hop in the Soul 3. I'm looking for the vinyl. But I had never met him before that. We just did the joint. But recently, in the last few months, every time I've been going to like California, I did like 4 shows in California, and he kept being there. And I'm like bodying these shows, slaughtering these shows. So he got to see me firsthand, like my man's right there several times. So my manager is cool with him, and she, between her and him actually seeing me being right there, like one time I was like bodying the show, and they unfortunately they put me on really late, so a lot of the crowd had already left. But I don't who's in the room. I'm bodying the show. So I'm bodying the show, and he's seen it, and he started bringing people back in the show like, yo, you got to see my man. So shout out to Asia. So as far as the video, I'm working with a studio called 4886 Studio. They're making a video game called Solo, and for that video game, I'm voicing the main character, and I also make the beats for the video game. So I'm doing all of this for them, and we're like working every day, and they're like, yo, Cy, is there anything we could do for you? And I was like, well, I think I have something. So I was like,
so is that like gameplay footage in the vid? Is that going to be what the game looks like?
No, but it's so dope. I was like, yo, you need to turn this shit into a video game.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's like otherworldly, like Ex Machina / cyberpunk, with the crazy, I don't know, Bushido blade.
Yeah,
it's dope, tight, for real.
Shout out to Paul and Ben from 4886 Studios.
Blowtorch is from the upcoming project, which releases in June.
It does.
The Peaceful Warrior 2.
I got it right over there. I got the vinyl, the tapes, the CDs. I can't let you
sending some straight to me. I know you're gonna sign them up and just send them over, because I am Frank 5D. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Cy. Honestly, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, dope. You got the, you keeping it how it should be. We got the vinyl, we got the cassettes, the CDs, the trippy cover art. What can we expect from the project?
It's the Peaceful Warrior 2, so it's an extension of the first album. It's called Raw Self-Expression. On this album, so on the first album, it was more, I want to say soulful, more songs about my heart. And this album, there's some of that as well, but it's really raw self-expression. So all the best parts of me, whether it's the most creative sides, or whether it's the most lyrical sides, or whether it's the most soulful sides, it's me, raw self-expression. And my definition of raw self-expression would be being able to grab my clearest thought and my deepest feeling and my energy at that time and put that together in a song. So I have a lot of all of the songs on the album were me expressing myself with the rawest, purest form. So whether that's being lyrical or being super creative, you get me at my rawest and purest.
Beautiful. And that's one of the most beautiful things about life, man. Raw, pure expression, like raw self-expression.
Absolutely.
The essence of what you are, and just how you've portrayed it throughout this interview and throughout your career, honestly, from what I've seen, is just how that can impact other people.
Right.
And and to consciously and intentionally make it a good impact. To not just throw out things and who's it gonna stick with, and where's my audience? Create your audience through positive intentional actions.
Right.
Beautiful thing. I love it. You say it's an extension from part one. What's gonna set it apart? Or could it have been honestly the same project?
No, it couldn't have been the same project. Well, the thing that sets it apart is because I personally believe every project I put out, I get better. So the songs are better. I'm lyrically better. I don't see how they couldn't be, because I made them right after. And I was like in the zone of just like, I've recorded like 50 songs in a row. And these songs are after the first song. So the songs are just better because me and Slimline, shout out to Slimline, he produced the whole album. He's from Rochester, UK. Me and him just got more in sync as we created more and more songs. And then additionally, like I was saying, like creatively wise, like I have some very creative songs on this album that I didn't have on the first album. And I think people are going to really appreciate those. Like my cousin says, I have this one particular song. He said it, not me. He was like, yo, that song sounds like something Biggie or Nas would have wrote. And it's just the creativity of what I was able to conjure in the song and put together. And I've never heard a song like that before. So it's going to be really cool to see what people think about certain songs on the album.
Word. Again, I am Frank 5D, so I know I'm going to hear it before anybody else knows. So, okay, our discussion has had a theme of progression. We kind of keep touching on that idea. What would you tell a young Cymarshall Law who is just starting out his musical journey?
You can't do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you can't do it on your own, and don't make sure you value yourself. Like, don't be so cool. Like, I'll be super clear. When I was coming up, my mom initially was like, do what you're doing for the love. And I took it and ran with it. And then I found out later that the love doesn't always pay the bills. So as much as you love something, like I have a song called Believe This, and I say, I don't do this for no money. I don't think I would say that shit no more. As much as I love hip hop, like I'm gonna do it, but like I should be getting paid for what I love. I should be, like, I'm giving a lot of energy out. I'm putting a lot of work in. So why would I not be paid?
Also, whatever you do good, you probably shouldn't do it for free just because you're able to.
Right. So as a young kid, I just heard my mom say, do what you love. And that's all I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about money. And then, I looked up later in my life and I'm like, broke. And I'm like, what happened here? Because I was actually putting out the words into the universe saying, I don't do this for no money. I'll never say that shit no more.
Mm-hmm.
The money is coming to me. I deserve it.
I've also heard you tell a story about moms telling you, yo, this thing is probably for your brother. You should probably just do something else.
Yeah, you see how the smile came off my face? Like that was a real moment, because I didn't. No, I still don't appreciate it. And I tell moms to this day, because you never know what someone's going to be. You never know what's inside someone, especially if they tell that to you. If your kid tells you they want to do something, it's probably not your place to be like, that's not for you. And I love my mom. I would never trade her in the world, but these are things that really happen. So now, ask any one of my kids, I'm like, super, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. But I also tell them, like, get the money. Don't. So it's like a combination of what my mom told me and what I know actually works now. So yeah.
And shout out to moms, man.
Shout out to moms. Love you, mom.
Absolutely, yeah. And you also talked in the same sentence about how that made you go in. And so that's what's up.
It did because she would say I was a dreamer and I didn't appreciate that. Like in some sense, being a dreamer can be looked at as a good thing, but the way she was putting it was like you always want to do something, and it's like you're just a dreamer, and I didn't appreciate that, so I put into action to show her I wasn't just dreaming. I can create, like it's not a dream. I can manifest things.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of things. Like later on in life, she would be trying to tell me about like when I'd have to go on a plane, she'd be like telling me stuff, and sometimes I would have to stop her in her tracks and be like, Mom, I've got on way more planes than you. And people were paying for me to get on these planes. How did I do this? I could teach you something, Mom. Nah, but that's true. That's a true story.
Shout out to moms.
Shout out.
Mm-hmm. Your brother was signed to Subverse. The Subverse back in the day. That must have been dope.
That was super dope. I mean, I was super young back then. I was telling someone the other day that when my brother was signed to Subverse, that was when I first did my first show. Like Subverse Music used to put on a lot of showcases at Knitting Factory, New York. Mm-hmm. And I was still in high school, and sometimes my brother would sneak me into Knitting Factory to perform with him. So those were some of my first shows. Shout out to people like I remember doing shows with the Micronauts. I remember doing shows with the Anomalies. I remember doing shows with Solar Members. And I'm like 15, 16 years old at the time. So, and they're sneaking me in. Like sometimes they're sneaking me in. Sometimes they're telling the doorman like, yo, he's performing with us. But yeah, I remember being in Subverse Music. I have a lot of stories. I remember being in Subverse Music offices, and Poison Pen might not remember this shit, but like he's always been a real big dude. And that whole generation is like 6, 7, sometimes 10 years older than me. And I remember like I bumped into him, and I'm small, like 15. And I remember I turned around and I was like, what's up? And I guess because he's from Brooklyn, like I wasn't saying it like, yo, what's up? But that's how he heard it.
He thought you was going to get ill. He thought you were trying to get...
He was like, yo, what's up? And I remember my brother jumping in between us and being like, yo, that's my little brother. That's my little brother. That's my little brother. I've never actually told Poison Pen that story, but that's what my brother was the one who was like, yo, that was Poison, right? And I was like, oh shit, because now I'm cool with him, and that's mad years later. But I can remember having conversations with MF Doom, because he was signed to the label, and this is me at like 15, 16. I remember
was he Doom then, or was he Zed?
He was Doom. And this is someone like tried to date this story the other day, but my shit is all factual, so you can date all you want. But I remember I don't know if I want to tell this. I'm telling story.
Oh man, what are you?
Let's just say that I remember Doom performing at SOBs with MF Grimm. That's how long ago it was. So if you can date that. And some things happened that night.
Yeah, what happened at that show? That's what I'm talking about. Come on.
Nah. Yeah. Shout out.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Yeah, shout out. And thank you, Cymarshall. We want to wrap it up. We want to and thank you again. We want to make sure that we acknowledge your presence and all the great things that you're doing, and all the positivity that you're putting out in the universe, and acknowledge the blessings that are coming back to you. Keep it up, young man. What do you want your catalog to say to his listeners?
Here lies a man that would not conform.
It wasn't your eulogy, man. It wasn't your gravestone. What do you want your listeners to take away from your catalog?
That you can be who you are and keep creating without conforming. when people listen to my music, a lot of times, sometimes they don't get it because I'm different. I don't really sound like many people I like at all, and that is just who I am. And if I were to listen to the naysayers in the beginning of my career, I wouldn't be here now. And it was just because I was different. And shout out to Pumpkinhead. Shout out to Jean Grey. Shout out to Pace One. These are people who earlier in my career just was like, yo, he's dope. Like before, like people really started showing me love, they were able to see what it was. Like, yo, he's unique. And this is when I'm young. Like, yo, I remember certain things, they said to me, and not just those three, but other people. And if I would have conformed and tried to be like someone else, there would be no Cymarshall law as we know it. So my message from my music would be, you can always be yourself. You can always recreate yourself, and you never have to conform to what society wants you to be. Be what's in your heart. Be your clearest thought and deepest feeling. Be your raw self-expression.
Very nice. Where can the people follow you and support?
Yo, luckily, Frank, my is the same on like every social media platform. Luckily, I don't know how I was able to do it. I see people on 5 different platforms and they have 5 different @. On every platform, my is at Cymarshall Law, like at CYMARSHALLLAW, 3 L's, 2 for Cymarshall, 1 for Law, but at Cymarshall Law. But my website is hiphopintheflesh.com. Again, hiphopintheflesh.com. And I also have a clothing line, Cyvision, and that website is cyvision.online. So yeah.
That's what's up.
Boy.
That's what I'm talking about. Everybody, please go check in. Any last words, Cylaw?
Shout out to my family. Shout out to my manager, Karina. Karina and I got together, I think, of June of last year, and we've been whooping ass ever since. So shout out to her. Shout out to true lovers of life. Shout out to people who are trying to look for something, and that something they're looking for, hopefully they find it's them. The greatness is within them. A lot of people are looking externally for something, and I want people to know that you have the greatness within inside of you. And that greatness is unlimited. It's an unlimited source of greatness. And when you're able to express yourself at your highest form, you're always going to have something to say. You're always going to have something to give. And I feel like I want to keep giving that message to people because we need it. We need to help each other grow. We need to keep creating. So yeah, shout out to all the true lovers of life and all the people that know or don't know they have the greatness within them.
Beautiful. The greatness is within you, y'all. And that's what's up. Check this man out, or he's going to use his powers against y'all for bad. He's going to go to like Bucharest and just slander your name. Nah, I'm kidding.
Nah.
Thank you, sir. Follow me, Frank 5D, on any app you can tap. That's what we got, y'all. Positive energy activates, constant elevation.
Peace, love, and positive energy. Thank you, Frank. Shout out to Rodney as well. Thank you, y'all. Peace.